Well, the 2025 NFL trade deadline passed, and the Buffalo Bills did not make any moves. But that does not mean that they cannot improve their roster before this season wraps up. There are still a bunch of free agents out there that Buffalo could look to sign, as they have a bunch of injuries on their roster at multiple spots right now. We're going to go through the top 25 free agent targets that the Buffalo Bills could go out there and sign before the end of the season. And without further ado, because there's a lot of names, we got to jump right in. Let's start with number 1, Christian Wilkins. And with the Bills' defensive line injuries they have going on right now, not only to Agholor and TJ Sanders, the D tackle, but also at their edge rusher spots, I mean, would it be worth making a call on Christian Wilkins? Now, it is still unclear if Christian Wilkins is even healthy. He's been a player who has dealt with major injuries in his recent history, so it's unclear if he's even able to play football at this point. And if you guys remember, he had these weird locker room accusations back in the early season here that made him get released from the Raiders on a massive contract as well. They gave him nearly $100 million, and they were able to cut him with 2 years left on the deal. And there have been zero reports of any visits here for Wilkins, so just totally unsure if he'll play football again this season or honestly ever. But if he's out there on the football field, he is a beast, guys. We're 2 years removed from this guy having 9 sacks from the defensive tackle spot, getting $100 million from the Las Vegas Raiders. And look, man, why not just blame the Raiders in this situation? Like, they are a dumpster fire of an organization that can never get anything right. And I mean, speaking of 2024's version of the Raiders, that was even a bigger disaster than what they are going on right now. Maybe it's just a change of scenery needed here for Christian Wilkins. If he's able to play football, I would absolutely call up his agent and see what he's got going on. Should the Bills sign Christian Wilkins? Let me know in the comment section why for yes and for no. What do you guys think? Are you willing to take a chance on a guy who kind of has a lot of question marks surrounding him right now? Comment down below. Number 2, we've talked about him on the channel before, but Justin Simmons is still out there. And what we know now about this Bills safety room is it's working in pretty solid tandem with Jordan Poyer kind of roaming around the top, and then Cole Bishop kind of roaming around the entire football field. He's everywhere out there for Buffalo. You could really get a true over-the-top safety, though, that you could probably feel a little bit more confident in than Jordan Poyer if you were to go out there and get a guy like Justin Simmons, man. A player who has led the NFL in interceptions before, who just was a routine 4 to 5 to 6 interceptions a season over the past few, has yet to play this season because he'd wanted to be a starter. But now, I mean, we're 10 weeks into the season, man. He's not going to get that role at this point. He might as well go out there and sign with somebody. And I mean, the Bills have as much of an opportunity at the safety spot as far as contenders go than anybody in the league. I would be willing to bring in Justin Simmons if he was out there for Buffalo. Let's move on to another major, maybe the overall best and highest upside football player on this list, and that is Asante Samuel Jr. Now, Samuel Jr. is in a weird spot. He had a pretty scary injury go down. It was a spinal injury for him, which we know can take you out of football completely for the rest of your life. It was lucky for him that he was able to get some surgery here that repaired him enough to be able to be cleared for football activity. They had that spinal fusion surgery in April, and now he's finally cleared for football activities. And he's kind of making this a little bit of a high-stakes recruiting outing for Asante Samuel here. He's visiting a bunch of teams. ESPN reported he's in talks with several teams at this point. Are the Bills one of them? That has not yet been revealed, but I would still go out there and make a call on Asante Samuel Jr., man. Like, if he's planning to make all these free agency visits, who's to say he's not willing to make a visit with Buffalo? They have injuries to Taron Johnson. They have injuries to Christian Benford as well right now. It would not hurt to bring in a guy like Asante Samuel Jr., who for the past 3 seasons before the last one where he got that injury, he was turning the ball over, just making plays on the football, double-digit PBUs each of his first 3 seasons before that injury happened in 2024. So who's to say he can't be that same player? I'm sure he's been working out, and now he's finally cleared. But is he going to sign with the Bills? I'm not so sure here. He's got visits going on with the Packers, with the Vikings, with the Panthers, and I think there's at least 3 other teams on the list that are scheduled out right now. So unless the Bills get on this list, I'm not so sure that Samuel will be coming to Buffalo, but I would definitely want him to be wearing a Bills jersey because he's by far the best secondary option available in the free agency market right now. So with that being said, if you guys want to manifest Asante Samuel Jr., maybe visiting the Bills and eventually signing with Buffalo, if you want the Bills to sign Asante Samuel at the cornerback spot, go down below and hit that thumbs up icon, like today's video, and show Brandon Beane that they need to go out there and make a signing for a player like this. Next up, we got Stephon Gilmore. What about an old friend coming back to the 716 where it all began? I don't know. I mean, Stephon Gilmore is closer to the age of 40 than he is in his prime at this point. So I don't know if I would be willing to go down that route, but he's absolutely a veteran. He's absolutely a player who doesn't lose you football games. Like he had a weird stint, I believe it was in Carolina, where he wasn't as productive as he should have been. But then once he came back into the following season to Indianapolis, he was really, really good there. Didn't necessarily make a huge impact last season with the Minnesota Vikings, but again, a guy who probably knows the system a little bit and just a ball hawk. Like if you need a guy to make plays in the football, that's probably a little bit of a better option than Trey White. I would go with Stephon Gilmore. What about Eric Kendricks, the off-ball backer, formerly also of the Minnesota Vikings? And man, when this guy was in his prime, he was flying around the football field. A true solid linebacker in coverage. And in 2024, man, he put up crazy numbers. I mean, I'm not kind of confused as to why this guy is unsigned at this point when you put up a buck 38 in the tackle department, 3 sacks, 2 interceptions, like literally making plays defensively for his team. And for some reason, he's just not on a roster at this point. Used to be a Pro Bowl, All-Pro caliber level of linebacker. We'll see if the Bills don't feel like they are 100% healthy in that linebacker room. Maybe they call up Eric Kendricks for some reinforcements. Staying the linebackers here with Juwan Bentley, formerly of the New England Patriots, was a 16-game starter on that New England team that was maybe the worst Patriots defense in that team's history. But hey, he had 3 PBUs. He's a downhill kind of run stuffing linebacker here. Not going to be a guy who's great in coverage by any means, but can go out there and make plays at or around the line of scrimmage. I would be willing to make a call on Juwan Bentley, considering that he kind of fits the Bills' archetype of linebacker, just downhill, gap filler, go out there and make a play to the line of scrimmage. What about Josey Jewell there? A kind of similar archetype player to Juwan Bentley, a guy who can get to the quarterback from the linebacker spot as well. You can play him on the edge, you can play him off the ball, and he just knows how to go out there and be a football. He's got a nose for it. Multiple sacks in each of the last 3 seasons. I'm kind of confused as to why he is unsigned at this point as well. Is it an injury thing? Is he not all the way healthy? I would be absolutely kicking the tires on Josey Jewell if I was the Buffalo Bills and I wasn't super confident in their linebacking room. We have a lot more free agents to discuss here in just a second. But first, I got to tell you guys about our sponsor on today's program, as this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. You can get started today with a free $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. The weather may be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports platform, where all you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. Prize Picks is the best because it's the best looking app, it's the easiest to use, and it has the best features as well, like stacks, where you can have multiple stat projections from the same player and put it in the same lineup. So if you want a James Cook rushing yards, James Cook attempts, James Cook rushing yards in the first 5 attempts, you can put that all in the same lineup, only on Prize Picks. It's also becoming a social event as well, where you can follow other creators, follow your friends, follow celebrities, copy their lineups into your own using the new feed tab. You can copy my lineup for Week 10 as well, where I have Dalton Kincaid more than 36.5 receiving yards against the Dolphins. I got James Cook to get in the paint against Miami and get a rushing or receiving touchdown, and Tua Tagovailoa more than 31.5 pass attempts. You can tail my picks or fade my picks. Just do it at Prize Picks. Download the app today and use the code CLNS for $50 in lineups instantly after you play your first $5. That's code CLNS for $50 in lineups after you play your first 5. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. So go back to the secondary here. We'll talk about Kendall Fuller, a guy who has been, honestly, a very productive player throughout his career. Honestly, he's falling off, I will say, as far as what he did in Miami last season. That secondary was brutal, and Fuller was a big reason why. He ended up having 7 PBUs that season, and I don't think there's a Buffalo Bill with 7 PBUs on the year so far right now. So I would consider kicking the tires on Kendall Fuller. But as far as the cornerback position goes, if everybody is 100% healthy, I'm not so sure that with the Bills only having around $3 million in cap space, that's the position that they would go after. Now, on the edge with a guy like Shaq Barrett, I would think the Bills would probably be more inclined to go in that direction. Now, has Shaq Barrett been a big-time player over the past few seasons? No, but, I mean, you could just go back all the way to 2021. It is 4 years ago at this point, but Shaq Barrett's still a decent age here. He had 10 sacks back in 2021. He was limited to just 1 game back in 2024, had a major season-ending injury, and has not yet been back out there on the football field. So if the Bills are willing to take a shot on a guy who has been very productive in the past and probably just needs a new opportunity here in the NFL, then maybe they go after a guy like Shaq Barrett. if they are uncomfortable with their receiving room, even after a guy like Gabe Davis is up and elevated, what about DJ Chark going out and making a move for him? A downfield threat, a field stretching type of player. Now, does he have that top-end speed that he used to have? I'm not so sure. So, DJ Chark, we'll see if he ends up getting picked up. I'm not so sure it'll be by Buffalo, though. I'm not so sure this guy will be picked up by the Bills, but he's out there. James Bradbury. Guy's had a history of I guess just rough plays against the Kansas City Chiefs, and I don't know if the Bills want to bring that type of juju into the building, to be honest with you guys. Now, he is a ball hawk. Like, there's no doubts about it. He loves to make plays on the football, sometimes a little bit too aggressively, right? We've seen the worst of James Bradbury here, but you can't deny that he gets a hand on the football more often than he doesn't. Last season, played all 16 games. He's a very healthy player every single year. So, again, if the Bills are worried about injuries at their cornerback spot, maybe Bradbury's the name that they call up. If they're worried about James Cook or if there's any further injury with him, what about Gus Edwards? Could he potentially be a guy that the Bills try to get some reinforcements with? Good around the end zone, goal line type of back. Doesn't necessarily cough the football up. And we look back to 2023 where this guy had 13 touchdowns with the Baltimore Ravens. Clearly knows how to be productive out there. Not going to be a big-time home run hitting type of guy, but if the Bills are feeling that they need some reinforcements in the running back room, then I would say Gus Edwards is probably the best name of the crop of running backs that are available. Now, what I will say here is if the Bills make a move on any of these guys, if they sign any of these players, we're going to make a video breaking it all down, the financials, the details, and what the fit would look like on this Bills roster. So subscribe to the channel. This is why you subscribe. When the Bills make a move, we make a video, free Bills content every single day. Hit that sub button and turn notifications on as well. All right, I'm going to keep this one pretty short and sweet here. Isaiah Simmons, he is not a ball player. I've seen too many lapses in coverage. I've seen some of these Packer reps that I've seen, like legit, some of the worst film reps that like high school level bad coverages and just missed coverages from Isaiah Simmons. So I'm not interested in bringing him into Buffalo. Even if the linebacker room is looking a little bit unhealthy, I would look at 5 other names at minimum before I took a look at Isaiah Simmons. I wouldn't really take a look at Jamal Williams either. There's probably a reason he hasn't played in quite some time here. Just lost any real elite trait that he had a couple of seasons ago. It was kind of just a touchdown merchant over in that New Orleans season where he had like 17 or whatever Detroit season it was, where he had like 17 or 20 touchdowns on the ground. Not that same player anymore. Not going to have that same opportunity with the Bills running back room, so not really in on Jamal Williams. Von Bell at safety is a name who is probably washed, but this guy has been a highlight player throughout his career. One of the best tackling safeties that the football game has had to offer over the past few years. And if the Bills feel uncomfortable at safety, maybe they go after a guy like Von Bell if Justin Simmons is unavailable or too expensive. Diontae Johnson at wide receiver. The Bills would have to be really down bad. Like, the Bills would have to be really down bad to go after Diontae Johnson. I get it. You go back to 2021 and 2022 where he was really productive, over 10 yards a grab, and he was getting in the end zone back in 2021 and whatnot. But he's got a drop issue. He's got a character issue. He's been cut off of, like, every last 5 teams he's been on, and I'm just not willing to bring in Diontae Johnson, even if the Bills receivers are as bad as they are. Now, what about Odell Beckham? I'm not so sure that Odell Beckham would want to come up to play in the North anywhere but the New York Giants. Now, if the Buffalo Bills are the only team giving OBJ an opportunity, maybe he goes out there and plays in the 7-1-6, but I wouldn't hold my breath. I wouldn't hold my breath on Odell Beckham Jr. playing football ever again, to be quite honest with you. It's kind of crazy that he did have a pretty solid season back in 2023. Like, he averaged 40 yards a game in the times that he was out there. He got in the end zone 3 times as well in Miami. But, man, I'm not so sure that OBJ's football days are much more in front of him. Kind of seems like they're behind him for the most part, and we've seen the last of OBJ in the NFL. What do you guys think? I mean, that's just my opinion. What do you think? Will Odell Beckham Jr. play in the NFL again? Type OBJ for yes. Type no BJ for no. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section if OBJ is going to lace up those boots one more time. Nelson Agholor. I don't know, Jim. I again, a player who I actually think was pretty productive in his days in Baltimore, but I don't think it would be a needle mover in Buffalo. Cam Smith, a cornerback, is on the market as well. And then finally, Lewis Seen, a former first-round pick of the Minnesota Vikings at safety. He didn't last very long there. Didn't even end up finishing out his rookie contract. And not so sure if that'd be a player the Bills would want as well. A couple more names here just for shits and gigs. Cameron Sutton at cornerback, Emmanuel Mosley at CB, and then former Buffalo Bills Zach Moss, since he was on here, we had to include him as well. With that being said, name a free agent you want the Buffalo Bills to sign here. Who is your guy? Let me know down in the comment section. Is it somebody we named? Is it somebody that we didn't name? Let me know who you would want to bring to Buffalo here, as they probably need to improve their roster just a little bit more to get to that Super Bowl contender status. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well, as that will do it for today's show. YouTube.com/Bills News for all the latest and greatest on your Buffalo Bills. We'll see you on Sunday for Miami Dolphins versus Buffalo Bills live stream right here on the channel. And as always, let's go Buffalo.